Hello and welcome to another episode of Constructing Tomorrow. Today we have a very special guest, founder and CEO of Werk, Martin Kalamees. Martin, how's it going, man?
Doing good, Siddhant. Thanks. Excited to be here and looking forward to speaking with you on the construction tech and about Werk.
Yeah. Again, thanks for being here. And I'm super pumped up for this conversation. And before we dive right into it, can you just give a quick introduction?
Yeah, I'm Martin Kalamees. I'm one of the three co-founders of Werk, a construction tech startup that is using AI to verify tradespeople competency. So we're creating this sort of predictive data on construction workers before they even begin working, so that construction sites know where are the risks, which individuals need help, which individuals don't understand the safety rules or the job well enough. So that's a
Mhm.
short version. I'm sure we can go deeper in the rest of the conversation.
Sure. So for someone who is listening to these conversations, if you have to say what is Werk in one sentence, what would you say?
Um, Veric is a tool that allows you to ensure that every worker on your site is competent for the job that they're brought there to do.
Nice. So let me go back to your background a little bit. I saw that you had done your education in law, and now you're running and building a construction startup. So how did that switch come along, and at what point of time, like, did you see a problem? Like, oh, hey, this is something that I'm seeing more often, and I wanted to do something to resolve it. So walk us through that journey.
Yeah, so law is something that I escaped, luckily, by the right time. It didn't suck me in too deep, but I was lucky because a lot of my friends are either construction workers or they started as construction workers and now running their own businesses. So whenever you go to parties, for example, you speak with the friends, and obviously the work topics come up. And when it's construction, then there's a lot of negatives. I mean, there's always problems. Something is burning. There's not enough people, or the people are not showing up. So you were constantly hearing about the problems. And one time, I think we were sitting in a sauna. We thought that, hey, already 4 years ago, there were not enough construction workers or skilled workers. So what if there was an app like Uber where you could basically order qualified workers and get them on your site the very next day? And I think that was the sort of the first like click where we had, and we took the friends group and we went to a hackathon, and we won that hackathon with this initial Uber for construction idea. And I think that is the point that everything actually started. We got the click that, wow, okay, this is actually possible, and what we're doing is something that people need. And then we started, speaking to customers. We had all had full-time jobs on the side. We started speaking to construction companies, both subcontractors, workers. I think we spoke to 200 individuals in the first half a year, and we realized that there's a real opportunity to make a change. So what we did is we had all gathered a bit of money. There were five of us in the beginning. We quit our jobs, and we worked on Veric for 6 months. So we took a risk, and that risk paid off, because after 6 months, when money was already running out, bills had to be paid. We managed to raise a VC round. So we raised one of the largest pre-seed rounds in construction startups at that time, from some really strong VCs. And we were able to hire a couple more people to the team to fill the gaps, and just went full on in. But the initial idea or the concept was actually hiring related. That there were not enough locals coming into the industry, so we were seeing a lot of migrant workforce coming from many different countries, even different regions, and nobody was solving this gap besides these traditional agencies. So we thought, what if we could productize and digitize and make it more efficient for both the workers and the companies? And we got really good traction in the first couple of months. We had 20,000 workers signing up all over the world. So we were excited. And then we had the Russian war in Ukraine that started in Europe. So for US listeners who don't know, then Ukrainian workforce was one of the main workers basically in the European construction, skilled workers. They were building our cities, our homes, our offices. And when the war started, a lot of them went back home. But with the war, also the economy sort of crashed and construction market crashed. So there wasn't that much happening, and there wasn't such a need for the workers. And now, as we're much later, in the years, we're seeing the market come back up, and we're seeing the shortages starting to feel again. So yes, these gaps are now being filled by Polish workers, Romanian workers, and further workers. But what is really something that is not being discussed is that when Ukraine wins the war, there needs to be Ukraine needs to be rebuilt, and there's going to be a lot of work that needs to be done on infrastructure, on homes, on commercial side, and there's not going to be enough workers. So they are somewhere in Germany or UK building. These workers are Polish and Romanians. It's going to be much easier for them to go to Ukraine and to the neighboring countries, right?
Is
So
it is it would you say that there's a shortage of workers in general, or is there a shortage of skilled workers? Like, what's your take on it? What have you observed in this past couple of years that you have been in business?
there's a shortage of skilled workers for sure. But skilled, like again, how do you determine it? If you just need hands, someone to carry something or demolish something, you're gonna find these people without problem. But if you need someone to build the walls right or do the painting with it with the right quality by the right time, that's where you're gonna struggle because you're taking a risk. You don't know if the person is gonna be able to do it. And that's sort of the point where we realize as well that it's not just about the humans, that there's missing humans, there's missing skills. And all of these skills, they're not coming from the local market. Construction schools are empty, or if the people complete the schools, they go to different career paths because they don't consider construction lucrative. But who do consider it lucrative are the workers who migrate for work.
Hmm.
And that's where the idea or the pivot happened as well for our business, where we realized that, hey, there's so much movement happening, not just as cross-border workers coming to, for example, from Poland to Germany, but this worker is continuous, constant, because they hop between projects. These workers, they hop between employers, between rental agencies, staffing agencies, and even countries. So what happens is nobody actually knows who they are. They arrive on the site, they begin their 3-4 month project, and their skills are being vetted on site manually, and then they
Right.
leave to a new project, and the process starts from beginning. So this data gets lost, and
Mhm.
CVs don't work. They don't have any sort of password or LinkedIn profiles that show, this person's a really good worker because they've done this, this, this. So there's no such information. And what we realized is that you cannot sort of get it anywhere. You have to create it. And that's how we came up with Werk as well, is that what if we built a tool that could identify these people's competency in the trade by assessing the skills. And
Mm.
that's what we are today as well with the product.
I was actually looking at an article yesterday, and it was published by American Builders and Contractors. So this is just in the US, right? So they did a survey, and the findings were you would need around 500,000 workers by next year on top of your current hiring pace to match the supply and demand. And this is just the United States. So, because I know you touched upon Europe, so if you're looking worldwide, there's a tremendous need of workers. And also, just not just about workers, construction industry in general. There was another article published by Associated General Contractors of America, and they mentioned that around 80% of the firms have a hard time staffing the projects. So I think it's definitely a big issue going forward. Do you have any other statistics on labor shortage and what you have
Yeah,
observed lately?
yeah, very similar one. So this is quite an easy one. For every 5 people that retire in the US construction, one person comes in to replace them. And it's not
Mm,
that there's less people, it's also that there's less skills because this one person that's coming in young is not as experienced. He doesn't work as quickly or as with good quality or with doesn't know all the tricks. So you're gonna have a massive loss of quality on site, not just work quality, but also on the safety side. And there's gonna be less people doing the job that today, for example, is being done by free. There's gonna be one person doing that. That is probably the scary part of it. And I think sites don't or construction companies maybe don't anticipate that change because they're looking, one day in advance because it's constantly burning. There's so many problems. Main contractors or general contractors, they rely on subcontractors to bring the labor on. And subcontractors, they just need to bring labor on to get paid and get work done. So they're going to be taking in whoever they can. They're trying to train these people, or that's at least my prediction that you're going to have a lot more unqualified and unskilled workers on site
Mm.
to basically fill those holes.
So let me ask you this: how is Werk solving this issue with skilled labor shortage? What have you guys come up with?
Yeah. So we're not going to be tackling the sourcing part today. This is being done by recruitment agencies, staffing agencies, and payroll companies. We're solving the part of ensuring that these people that are coming to these companies are actually qualified for the job. So when you take today's site, you have site inductions, you have toolbox talks, you have safety trainings, you have superintendents running around trying to verify workers' competency, right? All of these things manually. And if we go a bit more specific to site inductions, they are today mere signature gatherings, if we're being honest. People are brought to classroom, they showed maybe a presentation, a video, sign here, done. In Estonia, it's much worse. In Estonia, they are brought to site office, they sign a paper, it goes to a paper box, and that's it. So
Mhm.
we're really, US, UK is doing a bit better. But in reality, a lot of it is like checking TNC checkboxes. You're not getting any data where the issues are going to come from because you need the people on site, you need them fast, you need them to start working. So what we're doing is before these people arrive on site, we're having them answer test questions on induction, on safety, on competency, and we're having them answer these questions in their own words, like they're writing a WhatsApp message. That's the first thing, that we let them answer how they would explain it. And second thing is we're letting them do that in their own language. So whether they speak Spanish, Punjabi, Polish, Romanian, they can do everything in our tool in their own native language, which is familiar. And from those
Mhm.
test results, we can generate reports that show, okay, this worker John here at Royal, he cannot read blueprints. This person cannot do framing. This person has never installed drywall, for example. So we can identify all those gaps before these people arrive on site, so that companies can do three things. They can either not let these people do these jobs that they're not qualified to do. They can train them specifically on these weak points, or they can assign them to the right crews based on this data. So what we're essentially trying to do is we're trying to create new predictive data where the issues are
Mhm.
going to arise from the labor perspective.
Have you seen any pushbacks or some comments or feedbacks from the subcontractors saying, "Oh, hey, this is very difficult for the workers to do," or it's just too much information. We don't really need to do this. Have you received any kind of pushback initially?
So we've tested now over 10,000 workers, and not
Mhm.
just European. We've tested Central Asian workers from India, Philippines, um, and nobody has had any trouble doing it because we've built it in a way that is, you're writing like a WhatsApp message, you're answering questions, and every worker is already using WhatsApp. So this excuse that nobody can do it, it doesn't work. And
Mhm.
we took it into account that it has to be super simple when you're building construction tech in this industry. Um, Second argument is that it's actually easier because people can do it before. The
Mhm.
workers can do it before they arrive on site in their own time, and the companies, they save a lot of site teams time. They don't have to do these manual inductions that are generalistic and not targeting specific weak points.
Right.
We save time from their side as well. So we're trying to make this process easier, faster, and more efficient, and through this create this data that they can actually use. So
Yeah, I think in a subcontractor environment, I think this is really going to help a lot of them to identify which crew is suitable for which type of task, and I think they can expedite a lot of scheduling, in my opinion. What's your take on having subcontractors schedule their crew based on competency?
um, we haven't explored it that much. They sending people to the crews from subcontractor perspective, and the problem is that it's always harder to innovate or bring technology in from subcontractor side. It's a fragmented market. These are smaller companies, and they have less resources, both time and money, to do it.
Hmm.
So that's also why we are approaching general contractors, because they are the ones that are contracting it out, yes, but they are the
Right.
ones that are ultimately responsible for the project. And in the end, their project profits depend on the subcontractor's performance. Even if they put all the blame there, general contractor is going to be suffering if something goes wrong. And when you look at the profit margins, if you take like 100 million project, you're expecting to get like what, 10-15% profits, but in reality the profit margins are like 2 to 4%. It's really bad.
Yeah.
Not all of it is work related, some of it is
Yep.
obviously design, a large portion, but even a small change in reducing these inefficiencies, unplanned work,
Rework.
rework,
Yeah.
mistakes and delays, yeah, this has a huge impact on the project profits. You could basically double the project profits if you can predict a lot of the issues and avoid them instead of having
Yeah.
to find them and then react to them.
You
Yeah.
mentioned competencies, right? So I'm more interested to learn what is your criteria to maintain to identify that competency. What are some of the categories that you use
Categories, you mean from the trade skills part, or how would you?
from the trade skills part? Like what's your like a report analysis look like?
Yeah, we've tried two things. We've tried to use textbooks and like union books and everything to sort of formulate questions out of that on how to test people. And then whenever we went to actual sites and spoke to superintendents and managers, it was like, no, no, scrap that. That's like theory. Let's get those questions that I have on site.
Practical,
So
right?
yeah, practical. So yeah, we hope to get it the easy way, but no, we have to go to sites. We have to talk to superintendents, and then we gather basically from a lot of the sites the input that okay, how are you actually walking around? What are the questions you're asking? What are the issues you're running into constantly? And then we build these into assessments where we show either videos or photos or some materials to worker and then test them based on that. So we're basically taking all of this manual testing that is already happening today on site when superintendents walk around, and we're putting into a product that does it before the workers get a chance to mess up or get injured because they weren't trained on something specifically. No, so
Got it. Um, I actually wanted to talk to you more about how did you form your business, right? So if there's someone, an early stage founder looking to build a business, how what are the steps? Walk us through like from the starting, the business plans, any pitches that you guys did, any fundings, how that pitch go. Walk us through that journey.
I think the first thing you need to do is you need to find something that you actually care about,
Hmm.
because you're gonna have to make a lot of sacrifices from your time, from your salary, sleepless nights, stress, anxiety, potential burnout that you need to learn how to manage all of that. So if you don't have something that you really care about, don't do it.
Hmm.
And besides that, you need to find a really strong team. I don't know how people who are solo founders do it, because it helps so much if you have people who are sharing the mission. They're in the same exact stress situation as you, and you can share, those emotions, feelings, and everything with each other. So to manage that, I think that's the most crucial part. So the mission and the team, and after that, it's all about execution. So one of the mistakes we did is when we were still inexperienced, or still are inexperienced and learning, but in the early days, you're all about, we need to build this and we need to make it better and we need a couple of more features. Maybe they won't like it and so on. And
Hmm.
in reality, it's the complete opposite. You just need to go out, you need to speak to people, and you need to hear what they're trying to say. You don't need a perfect polished product. You just need some kind of a problem that everyone's aware of, and you need to know how to solve it.
Yeah.
So that's one of the learnings, I guess, for us. Yeah.
Yeah, so basically, feeling the pain points in like in the field. What are the main pain points and trying to address it, make life easier. Good advice. Um, with funding rounds, right? So you mentioned you
Yeah.
guys had a round with venture capital firms. So how does that look like? Like, how do you even reach out to this VC firms? What's the process?
Whew. I think the easiest thing is to go to some conferences, VC conferences or startup conferences.
Hmm.
Second easiest thing is to go to hackathons, where you can actually, put your team at test and you can compete for 48 hours, just work and grind. And third one is just reaching out to investors and trying to I would say you need to go to 100 investors to get one investor interested. And once that one investor comes interested, then everybody else becomes interested as well. So it's sort of Um, it's a long game, and you need to get a lot of no's. You need to be able to take the no's. You need to be able to analyze what's going wrong and constantly improve. So it's just it's a process. There's no like right or wrong in it.
Yeah. You also mentioned about having a good team, right? Um, Especially when starting out a company, you need to surround yourself with people who are reliable, who you trust, who shares the same mission, vision. So your initial hires become an integral part of your company. So when you were hiring your main core of the company, what were some of the things you were looking at? Apart from mission, vision, that's like the main thing that they need to share. But apart from that, what were some of the big criteria for you while hiring?
Um, yeah. So first of all, the core team that was with us, I think 2.5 years ago, is still together.
Hmm.
And we had a bit easier time because we were friends before we started the business. We knew each other. We were in the same circles,
Hmm.
and we had previously worked together. At least some of us. So that made it a bit easier. But when we pick people, it's about the mindset. It's not about the university degree. And often having a cool university degree is rather, it puts you on a certain path, and you might not fit in the startup world. You need to be able to constantly adapt to change. You need to be able to think a bit differently. You need to be uncomfortable, I guess, and that's what we're looking for. Are people able to take the stress? Are they able to be or put themselves in uncomfortable positions where they don't know what the right answer is, but that they enjoy the process of getting there, which means that you're constantly learning. And it also means that if you're supposed to be doing marketing, doesn't mean that you're not sometimes reaching out or email to someone or doing customer interviews. So I think it's people who are sort of multi tools, able to do everything or want to do everything and want to learn, even if they don't yet have much experience in that.
I really liked the thing that you mentioned about being adapted to change. I heard one quote when I went to Autodesk University last year. The whole theme was about like change is inevitable, but how you respond to it is what matters. So really liked that advice on being adaptive to change. I want to talk to you about so for a startup, as you mentioned, you reach out to 100 people, but you have to listen a lot of no's. I wanted to ask, how did you land your first client? How did that go about?
So landing the first clients, we've done pivots, meaning we've tried different products, and for each product we had a different customer type that we target. So first customers, the first customer was through like friends and family, not family, but friends, people we knew sort of. But that's not
Hmm.
always the best thing because you don't get this, fully brutal, honest feedback. Are they
Hmm.
actually willing to pay or do they want to help you? Are they giving you full truth? And that's
Hmm.
not very helpful. So that's
Right.
one thing you need to sort of be careful of. But other customers that we got were through outreach, meaning that the more and more I realize is that you have social media. People are actually active there. They're speaking about the problems. They're constantly talking. What they want to see, whether from startups or from tech or what problems they're having. And if you're paying attention and you're reading, you can reach out to those people with that specific problem that you're solving. And that's been working for us as well. That's how we got some of our customers. I think construction specifically is very difficult for startups because it's a traditional industry. But there are these
Mm.
people that are outliers. They are sort of active. They are trying to make a change, and you need to target those if you're in construction tech.
Nice. Um, so so Werk is like an AI platform, if you will, right? So I know it has played a major role in what you have built right now. Do you see any future case scenarios that you could implement? What's the mission or the vision for Werk going forward?
Yeah, I think short answer is that we're talking about data on skills, tradespeople skills, physical work. Nobody has that data today. Some of it is in CV, some of it is in the worker's head, some of it is on the superintendent's friend's head, but it's nowhere to be sort of found. There's no LinkedIn or Glassdoor or anything like that. So first thing is creating it. That's where we are today. And once we have this data, what if we could also change how the hiring market works, how jobs are found? You're not hiring a drywaller, you're hiring specific skills. If we know which skills are available on the market, we could easily and fastly, using AI again, make those connections to the right jobs. And it's not just making the connections, it's about keeping this data constantly updated. So if the worker finishes a project, can you feed it into what we're calling it Werk Passport, that anyone going to work in the future using Werk Passport, where the competencies are listed, they will get through site induction everything much faster because it's in one place. But it also gives them this tool to sort of prove that they are actually good. They've been improving, and it gives them a tool to get more money for their work if they're qualified. So we want to create this sort of transparency for the market.
So I think that's definitely I like the idea of Werk Passport. I think if it gets like, how do you call it, accepted, at least in like a region, it's gonna be super quick because that's like a standard document that you could use anywhere. So even for workers, if they want to switch companies or switch jobs, I think that document is gonna make the process more efficient. So I really like that idea.
Exactly. That's exactly the point, is that if you're having shortages, you're going to also need more movement. You need these workers to move more frequently between projects, and to do that you need more visibility of who they are, what skills they possess. So the passport is going to happen one way or another, whether it's going to be Merck or some other solution, but that's
Mhm.
something that the market definitely needs, that we see at least.
Nice. So you grew up in Estonia, right? So how is the construction landscape look like there? What's the mindset of people in the construction industry? What's the technology adoption look like? Just give a quick idea about it.
So UK is similar to US,
Hmm.
mindset wise. Scandinavia is quite similar as well, but Estonia and the rest of Eastern Europe is quite far behind. Like I told you in the beginning, the induction part. Inductions are workers being brought to a classroom, putting a signature, and off they go to work. So that's the level of quality or competency checks. Um,
Mm.
Funnily, quality is something where Estonia is more demanding than our neighbors in Scandinavia or UK. So how you rate a painter's job, where you have to put a light from a certain angle and certain distance to see, is it done with the correct quality? Do you see the waving?
Mhm.
You don't do that in Finland, for example. Like if you cannot see it with your eyes, it doesn't bother you. We don't fix that. In Estonia, they will demand
Oh,
to
so
fix it.
quality
So I
standards are
think,
much higher.
yeah, that's a weird part. But overall, we are slowly, chasing up to the rest of the world. We have BIM that is becoming very popular, and we have these gate systems where workers have to be identified before they're allowed to site. So we are getting there, but we're still quite far behind.
Mm. So one last thing that I wanted to ask is, if you were to start over again, right? What's one thing that you would do differently?
Um, I would take my time in validating the business idea and the product, um, and I would do it by speaking to more customers, more people, basically, instead of building the
Mm.
product and then doing it, which we did a bit in the beginning. So I think that's the most common startup mistake as well, that you build a product that nobody needs. So you can mediate that risk by speaking to the people and then validating and then building what is this minimum, viable product that you can sell that provides them value. And that's what we would be doing differently.
Mm.
Speaking to more people.
Yeah, great advice. Like, with startups, you have to find a problem and build a solution, and not build a solution and go find a problem. So great
Exactly.
takeaway. Um, I think it was a good conversation. I would like to close out this session with one advice for young professionals.
I consider myself still young as well, but what's working for me, I think, is that you put yourself out there in uncomfortable situations, and you try to find people who have done what you're trying to do, whether they're on LinkedIn or Twitter or some other platforms or real life. But you try to find these people, you try to follow their advice and see what works for you, and then you make sort of your own case out of that. Because most of the problems that you have, someone else has had before, they've solved it, so you don't need to do it from scratch, and you can save a lot
Nice.
of time, money, nerves, and give you speed. So
Awesome. Thanks, Martin, for being over here. Really appreciate your time, and it was a great conversation.
thanks for having me.
Thank you for tuning in to Constructing Tomorrow. I hope this episode provided valuable insights and tips. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and drop a review or a comment. Until next time, keep building and stay curious.